How's it going, everybody? Brian here with Steve. This is the Suffering Swords podcast. Well, I don't know what episode this is.
I think it's 9.
9, maybe?
Yeah.
This is the quarantine episode 1. So hope everyone's hanging in there, doing well, trying to stay busy if you're stuck at home. Probably not a fun time. I'm sure most people before this would love to have worked from home, but now that you don't get to leave, you probably don't like it as much. How have you been holding up?
I mean, this is my normal life. Nothing has really changed, so I'm really liking working from home, working my own hours here. Having a good time. Animal Crossing's out, playing that, just having a grand old time. But
Yeah, I
not
wish.
not happy that people are getting sick. Obviously, I don't want to make it sound like that, but just making the most of it right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I still have to go out into the real world and
How'd
go
you
into
word
the
it? Yeah.
petri dish of America and fucking Walmarts and Tops throughout the western state of New York and or the
Well, at least you're not in New
western
York
part of
City.
the state of New York. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But yeah, I get to head into the fucking petri dish. I think it'd probably be safer for me to lick a doorknob at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully I stay healthy. I've been washing my hands and staying away from the COVIDiots, and hopefully everyone out there is staying healthy. Hopefully, like I said, you're trying to stay occupied at home. You're not going stir crazy.
Mhm.
In the sports world, we usually rely on that to kind of take our attention away from everything that's going on, but that's been just about impossible with all of the closings of every major sport around the world. I'm sure you could
Mhm.
probably find like maybe old like poker tournaments or something to watch, but anything that's actually fun is currently shut down. I know me and Stevie have a nice Sunday night roller hockey league that we're in that we're dearly missing because we do so
Yeah.
well in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everyone's being affected the same right now. Just try to keep your heads up. No sports means no fun for a lot of people, including myself. So I'm just trying
Well,
to do whatever I can to stay occupied.
it's really wild though because I mean, yeah, I watch a ton of sports. I basically this is like the time right now that's amazing normally because baseball would be starting, hockey's still going. So
Football, free
yeah,
agency, and the draft
yeah.
upcoming.
And then like, the draft lottery for NHL, all that. So it'd be really cool. Of course, that's not happening right now, but I'm actually holding up like fine. I don't know, it's weird. I thought it would be a huge hole in my life not having sports to look at right now, but I mean, I've been, I don't know. It's just I haven't been on Twitter as much. It's kind of weird, but I mean, maybe I'll go crazy soon, but for now I'm all right.
Well, I think the big thing that probably prepared us for this as Sabres fans is that this time of year wasn't filled with hockey to begin with. If we were coming down the stretch like every year in a playoff race, I'm sure we would be missing hockey a lot more. But like by the time February rolls around, the last decade, we haven't had anything to cheer about anyway. So like I'm pretty much used to not giving a shit about hockey in March. So, you know, every year leading up to this, I've already been in like NFL draft mode, and like the start of baseball has hurt more than hockey not being able to finish its season.
Hmm.
Luckily MLB The Show 20 came out, so I'm binging that. You're binging Animal Crossing. There's a lot of other stuff to do, especially with Sabres fans. I think it's been a pretty easy transition. Um, the MSG broadcasts of the old games, they're
Hmm.
not even doing that right. The
Oh,
last
they're
game
not?
that they showed was cut for time, and they cut all the fights out, which
What?
is like it's so stupid. Like cut. if there's 2 minutes left in a period and nothing happens, cut that out. Why are you cutting out fighting? Like, that was part of the game back then. Like, everything they do is so bad. They just continue to blow my mind.
I'm actually sad I missed the 70 save Hasek shutout.
Well,
kind
if
of
I
wanted
wanted to
that.
watch, if I wanted to watch a 1-goal performance from the Sabres where one player stands on his head, I could just watch Jack Eichel. Like, it's the same thing. Like, the very first game that they show is like, we're gonna show a 70 game or a 70 save performance from Dominic Hasek on a team that nobody liked because they're in the same exact position they are now, where like they don't have anyone exciting aside from like a few players, and the rest of the roster is just put together like shit. And they were just being held up by good goaltending. Like, the 90s team was just basically what it is now with like a superstar, and then obviously they didn't have like Olofsson or Dahlin or Skinner, but it was just a roster full of like nobodies being held up by a few studs, and like that doesn't win you any games. So I think it's funny that the first thing that they showed was basically where we are now, of like a team that no one liked with like a few good players holding it up.
Yeah, at the same time though, I mean, it's nice to see the history. I mean, I don't know if it was because the fans kind of begged for it on Twitter or what. It's cool if they're listening actually to us. But at the same time, you could kind of just watch them online if you wanted to. I'm sure they're all like the Sabres Archive. I think there's a YouTube channel for that.
Yeah, there's a Buffalo Archive
Yeah.
on Twitter and on YouTube. He's a pretty good follow if you like watching older games. I was actually watching the
You linked
beginning
me
of one
one.
of one of the games that they were showing. I think it was the 7-6 game. I was like halfway through that one. I kind of lost interest in it, and I was like, I want to see some violence. So I just YouTubed like I think I watched the Senator Sabres brawl from when Baron fought Emery, and like
Oh,
that,
I love that
because
one.
I think that's probably the most exciting game I've ever watched. Um, it had a crazy bench clearing brawl with a goalie fight. It ended in like a shootout win, like that was super dramatic. Like Miller stood on his head in the shootout. Um, it was just an all around amazing game, and like I feel like somehow they probably won't play that one for some reason, and I'm just expecting them to choose like, obviously all older games are fun to watch, but like, I mean, the one that we watched the 70 save performance of, it was a pretty boring game. I mean, aside from Hasek standing on his head, they took the fights out. There weren't any goals being scored, and it's just like, all right, well, that was a fun waste of 3 hours of my life.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I was older and I remembered watching the game originally, it would have been more fun. But for me, it was just like, okay, whatever. I can skip
True.
this. But I'm sure enough about that stuff. We should probably get into the elephant in the room, which is just more disastrous scumbag shit from the Pegulas. I'm sure anyone listening already knows what's been going on, but with the coronavirus breaking and the season being suspended, a lot of teams have had to make decisions based off of what they're going to do with team personnel in terms of like arena workers and whatnot. The Pegulas were actually one of the last teams to come out and say anything about it. Most teams around the league have said that they're going to pay their workers indefinitely no matter what. The Pegulas were getting a ton of heat on it because no one was hearing anything from them. And they came out and finally made a statement saying that they were going to pay their employees once games are canceled. They basically, they didn't put it in the fine print, but they worded it in a way that kind of misled people to believe that they were paying them now, and that was not the case at all. They're not being paid until the games are officially canceled. As long as they're postponed, they're not being paid in the meantime. So if you have part-time or full-time workers that rely on these checks that they work from games to, provide for their family and eat, they're not getting that. And that's like, that was just a sickening, like, first base of this whole home run of disasters that the Pegulas have hit. Do you have any thoughts on like how it started and what you thought about it when it was originally coming out?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't really, for an owner to say, I'll dig another hole or whatever if I want to, make money, you know, that makes it sound like he's not super greedy when it comes to things like this. But, when it came out that we were one of the like 5 teams that didn't really have like a good plan in, that we're going to pay our workers, it's pretty saddening. And I mean, they're part-time basically, so it's, these people, a lot of them could be paycheck to paycheck, and they could be in some really tough times right now, especially if they have a family to feed, and things aren't as readily available. Like if you shop at Tops, you're not gonna get stuff on sale right now. It's, you're gonna have to pay full price probably for everything if that's the way you shop, and supplies aren't as available, so you're trying to stock up on things, and if you're not getting a paycheck, then it's not a good situation. And that's nice if you're going to pay them if they're canceled, but uh it's leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth when they see things like that. And Boston's owner as well, he is from Buffalo too, and you know, Boston looks even worse right now than us, but kind of sucks that
I
like
disagree with that.
no, they're not.
I mean, he's a scumbag too, but kind of piggybacking off of what you said, like before we get into Boston versus Buffalo and who's worse and like the rest of what's gone on since that original statement was released. When there's something global going on like a pandemic and like you said, resources are more scarce and things aren't going on sale and like everything is a mad dash to get to buy chicken and like just stuff that every day like people take for granted that is just always on the shelves. When things like this happen, those resources run out, and when you have people that rely, like you said, week to week paychecks or like that just need to support their family or anyone like that, when they have limited resources and no money coming in, like that causes inflation of prices and that causes scarcity of things, especially when people are like stocking up on toilet paper like they were and like hand sanitizer and stuff. Not only can people not find it in the stores, but even when they do, they might come across a situation where they can't even afford to buy everything that they need because they're not getting their paycheck. And like it would be one thing to do this if like there was a CBA lockout or something, but this is a time where people need to come together and like help each other out. And if people aren't getting paychecks, they need to be helped, especially now, like the way things have happened and like the resource scarcity. And I mean, there hasn't really been a price hike, but like if you have to rely on like Save a Lot or something and that's all sold out because it's lower prices, then like you're kind of up shit's creek. And now is the time to help those people out with anything they can. And the Pegulas basically just spit in their faces and said, like, you're on your own. And
Well,
that,
so is Boston though.
well,
That's what
yeah,
I'm
but
saying.
I think that's well, I agree that is bad because the Boston owner owns Delaware North,
Yeah.
which is the concessions company for a lot of teams around the league, if not most of them. But now I'm not up to date on what Delaware North has done with employees or with salaries or anything like that, or what Boston has
It's
said.
not good. It's not good. I'll tell you after you say whatever you're saying.
Okay, but I will say that most teams, 30, 29 other teams, excluding the Sabres and the Bruins, have gone out of their way and said, we are going to bypass Delaware North and pay the employees that work at our arenas because they work for our organization too. And they have paid them and they have provided them with money. And, look up north and look at Ottawa. They're, Eugene Melnick is the most penny pinching asshole there is in the league. And he came out and said that, they're going to provide for their workers because they care. And for this organization not to do that, that's not even just meeting league standards. That should just be meeting I don't know. You need to just look around at what's happening in the rest of the world and realize, if you don't do this, you're just straight up scum. It goes further than hockey in this situation. And it shouldn't even matter what the rest of the league is doing. You should look at this as ownership and say, we have a lot of money and we're going to help people that have been helping us. And they didn't do that. And I think that really shows the kind of people that they are. But what did Boston have? Do you know what their statements were, the general idea of them, of what they said?
So Delaware North made a statement and said, effective April 1st, 68 of our full-time salaried associates will be placed on temporary leave, receiving 1 week of paid leave and 8 weeks of full benefits. Additionally, 82 of our full-time salaried associates will receive an indefinite salary reduction.
Okay, so they're releasing some people and cutting pay.
Yeah, but they're also the only team that said they will not pay their arena staff. Every other team has at least said if it's canceled or something, like us, they're just straight up not going to. So
all right, well, I would say they're on par with the Pegulas at this point then, because more recently the Pegulas announced that all of their PSE workers, or most of them, they're getting laid off. They're not paying any of their accrued paid time off, and they're not guaranteeing anyone a job for when they come back. So they're laying people off, which I understand would be beneficial to people that are trying to get unemployment, but you can't not pay these people what they've earned and paid time off or anything. And you cannot just say yeah, we're going to lay you off, but there's no guarantee that you're going to have a job when you come back. Making people reapply for a job that they're being laid off because of a global pandemic, that's just straight up, I don't even know what to call that. That's evil. That goes way beyond hockey. That goes way beyond anything. That's just inhumane at that point. If you have people that are struggling with paying bills and stuff, and that you have people relying on their paycheck, it's one thing to lay them off and say yeah, we'll be waiting whenever this blows over, you can come back. But for what they did, that's just, it's disgusting. And I think there's no other way of saying that. That's just, it's evil, big corporation shit like that. And it, this cannot be forgotten once all of this ends. You need to really take a look at who these people are and seriously reconsider giving them any money. I hope no one goes back and reapplies or applies for their positions, because like I said, it's disgusting and it's evil, and this goes way beyond the sports world. This is just inhumane.
Yeah, if they, just kept paying their staff even though they weren't working, I mean, this would be like a drop in a pond for them, these owners.
It would be a lake, not even a pond.
Yeah, so it's it's sickening, especially, I mean, it's just it's not only are you screwing these people, but everyone's mad at you. It's so bad publicity wise. People don't want to see this, and I know some teams right away stepped in and said they're going to pay. And then, there was a lot of backlash saying like, "Oh, where's my team? Where's my team?" And then a lot of teams were like, "Yeah, you know what? We'll do it." The teams that are still sitting there after people were saying how like disgusting that act was to not pay these people, the teams that are still sitting there and not like paying, it's sad. And it sucks that the Sabres are one of them. I know that Pegula's did come out today and say they're gonna do some like $1.2 million donation. Do you know more about that?
Well, I read it, and it was basically they've announced that they're going to contribute $1.2 million to like community aid with the Sabres and Bills foundations. I don't know if that means they're putting money out of pocket toward this, or if they're taking money from Sabres and the Bills Foundation and putting it toward the community. They didn't specify that. I would assume, and I'm really hoping that it's money out of pocket for them, and they're adding that onto the Sabres and Bills Foundation. But if it comes out that they're using these foundations instead of their own money and saying that they're contributing to the community like that,
That would be so bad.
that would be like the icing on the cake. Like, find out where they live and fucking burn their house down or something, or one of their houses down. Like, that's, they've already crossed the line so many times with the way they've handled this and the mistreatment of everything that they've done. I really, really hope that this $1.2 million is coming from them personally and not being scooped out from somewhere else. Because if that comes out, then that's like the nail in the coffin.
Oh yeah.
Do you think, if it is the case that the 1.2 came out of pocket, does that make up for anything, or is that just expected of them at this point?
I mean, it sounds like they knew this was going to happen. Like, I don't know if it's just a publicity stunt to try to make up for, what they've been doing and, well, I guess not doing for the past few weeks. To me, it doesn't really make up for it because they already kind of just showed who they actually are by doing that.
Well,
I
what
mean,
makes it worse is that Pegula said when he bought the team, like, this isn't for money. If I wanted more money, I'd just drill another oil well.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, get drilling and pay the people who are working for you, you know?
But does it
That
say anything about paying their employees? It looks
in
like
the
it's going to like
statement that came out
hospitals.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to community aid, which is just the overall, like, if I don't know exactly what that covers, but I would assume it's like to hospitals and to if there's any relief foundations for people who are struggling who might not have money. It would be funny if they were giving $1.2 million to like a relief fund for people who need money, and like half of them are PSE employees
Yeah, it
because
ends up going to that.
they weren't getting paid by them to begin with.
It's
But
just, I
yeah,
mean,
like,
I'm not gonna act like it's not a nice thing. I mean, I'm glad they're doing it, but it's just
uh,
like, why did it take so long? And I don't know.
well, I hate to say it like this, but it doesn't seem like that much.
Oh yeah, they could give more.
For sure. And it just seems super bizarre that like it's such a weird amount of money to give too. Like, I don't know exactly you know, why is it 1.2 million? Like, where did that exact figure come from? And like, I understand that like a lot of people will hate this idea, and like I kind of agree with that, but like, if you're already donating money and you have the means to donate more like they do, and you're only donating this amount of, I mean, it's a huge amount, but for them it's like nothing. Like, I just don't understand why it seems like a small amount based on what is going on, and like the amount of money that everyone needs to try to get this under control in terms of like hospitals and anything like that. I'm never going to say that someone didn't donate enough in charity or something, because you give what you can afford to give, and like something is better than nothing. But like in this case, it seems like a strange amount to give, and especially after what they didn't do, it just seems like they're trying to put a Band-Aid over it.
I mean, not to like make it sound even worse, but 1.2 million. I mean, they're worth, apparently Pegula is worth $5 billion. So this is 0.00024 of
After
his.
not paying their employees and after not putting any money back into one of the teams that he owns, he's putting, whatever fraction of 1%
Yeah.
that you just said. Like that's, it's, like
So
I said, I'm never gonna say someone should have given more to charity, because you give whatever, anything is better than nothing. If I was going to give $20 to a charity and someone said, why don't you give 25? Like, fuck you. I already gave 20. But like, if you're Pegula, dip into the pocket a little more,
like if you, all right, going off your example, if you gave $20, you'd be giving way higher of a percentage of your fucking like net worth than Terry Pegula is right now,
That's
giving
that's true.
1.2 million.
$20 is like 50% of my total value.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd be a saint.
Right. Well, they're not saints, and they're
No.
scumbags right now. And I mean, like I said earlier, this goes much further than just hockey. This is real world. People are living and dying off of your money. This isn't like, I spent $60 on a Sabres ticket and they got shut out. I hate this shit. This is like, if I don't get my paycheck from you guys, I'm not going to be able to feed my kid. Like that's the kind of shit that this is turning into. And this is their true colors that they're showing, and it's unbelievable that it can be run this poorly at a time like this. It's just unbelievable to me. They're scumbags. They're pieces of shit. They're, the corporate evil person, or the evil company that it seems like we're in a movie, and like I'm waiting for, like some scrappy underdog to like take down the big corporation and show them their evil ways and change them. Like that's how bad this seems right now.
Yeah.
And like, if it wasn't bad enough that they weren't giving any money to their workers, like they consistently were just misleading people reading into it with their comments. If you read some of their statements, it came out, and it's, at first glance it sounded like, oh, they're doing the right thing. And then the more you read it, you're like, oh, they're trying to look like they're doing the right thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
in reality, they're just pussyfooting around and trying to, say that they're going to do the right thing when they're really not.
Yep.
And that might be even worse. That's the whole situation is just a total shit show. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, but like, I'm not giving a fucking dime to these people until they change their ways. Like, I'm sure they'll still sell plenty of royal blue jerseys next year, but I'm not going to get one.
Yeah, they could easily fund their employees by just like the first month of the royal blue jersey sales, I'm sure. They would make
Right.
up that money so quickly.
Right.
But they're not going to do it. It's all good,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. I mean, they're not getting a dime from me. So, I don't know how other people feel about it, but, if you want my opinion, don't fucking go to games. Don't buy anything Sabres related if it has anything to do with them. Just fuck them, I'm sure it'll get to the point where like we'll try to combat their tyranny of not paying anyone and being cheap, and then we won't be supporting the team enough, and then they'll move them.
Yeah, so maybe not.
This will somehow end up losing us the Sabres because the fucking owners were such scumbags. Speaking of scumbags, though, Jason Bottrell still has a job.
Yeah, and he's making some moves. So I guess we
Yeah,
should discuss them.
yeah, that's just as scary as everything else that's been going on. Like, how are you allowing this man to continue to make, roster decisions? It's like, I understand the season is postponed, but like, this has me worried that they might stick with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not like he's making huge moves, but he's signing a few college free agents. I, I mean, at the same time, I think back. I know when the Bills fired their prior GM, I believe
Yeah.
he still like stuck around for the draft and then left,
Well,
right?
they fired him. He was working there, but Sean McDermott actually did all of the drafting. He was
Yeah,
just
but
kind of
he was
sitting in the
still there
chair.
for it, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Right,
So
but he just wasn't making any decisions. Hopefully that's what's going on here.
yeah, I mean, these aren't like only GM can make these decision type moves. So I don't know, but first one was Brandon Bureau signed
Yep.
from
Penn
Penn
State.
State. Yep. So he's you had kind of a scouting profile on him, but he is 22 and decent 37 games, 31 points in his sophomore year. Then he put up 40 and 37. And this season, 1 point per game here, 25 games, 25 points. So not huge progression, but 22, 5'11", left shot. So I guess worth a shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not expecting anything with it. I mean, look at the track record of the players that he's brought in from college, like with CJ Smith and like that caliber of player. Like, they haven't even gotten a shot in the NHL. Whether that's because they haven't performed to the standard that they need to even have a shot, or, we all know how this team operates in terms of player usage and how bad they are sometimes with that. But, he's like a roughly a point per game college player. He's, average sized, maybe slightly below average. He's got, fine speed. He's a fine, he's just a guy. And, if you're going to bring him in, so be it. It doesn't really matter. I think both of these forward signings were definitely like Rochester moves. I don't really expect to see Brandon Bureau
Yeah,
up in the NHL at any point. I mean, and even if he is, it's not going to be anything that's really head turning that he does. I think he's just a career AHLer, just a
true.
depth signing.
Um,
Same with Dawson DiPietro too, from
yeah,
Western Michigan. I know a little more about him because I at least know him from, like USA Hockey. He's super fast, but, he's like a fucking 160 pounds. Um, Super undersized. Not that that really matters, if you look at like Mitch Marner in Toronto, but like, he's just an undersized, fast guy. It's the same thing as Brandon Bureau. I don't expect.
he's 5'11",
Yeah, but
according
he's super skinny. He's a little twiggy.
to.
He's lanky.
Well, I don't really care about that. The thing I care about is the point production, kind of, and that's all we really have to go off of. We don't have like great scouting reports on him, but
I know
30,
he's fast and skinny. That's it.
yeah. He put
If you
up
want my
30,
professional opinion.
yeah. In his sophomore year, he put up 35 points in 36 games. So you're like, okay. But then he just dropped to 23 and 33 the next season. And then his senior year, a little bit better, 29 and 35. But, not, still didn't reach those sophomore numbers. So a little concerning. He is 24, so I'm sure he'll play in Rochester. It's only a 1-year deal. So we'll, yeah, sorry, a little voice crack there. We'll keep that in. That's fine. But yeah, not a big deal. He was a center according to this. I don't think he would really project as a center in the NHL, but that's if he
I don't
even
think he
makes it.
projects to anything, to be
Yeah.
honest. He's like you said, he's 24. This is an AHL depth signing to me.
Yeah, that one for sure.
Bureau is at least he has a few more years to progress and see what he is. He obviously has more point production in college, and he's younger. So, I mean, if we're career trajectory, Brandon Bureau is probably going to at least see the NHL in a debut at some point if everything goes according to plan. But I don't see Dawson DiPietro as anything besides just an AHL depth signing.
Same. All right, so the last move, not a crazy one. Matthias Samuelsson signed to an entry-level deal, 3 years, max cap hit, 925. Um, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of him. Obviously, not really the ideal defenseman right now. Doesn't have really the speed that you'd want. He's kind of like that bigger Rasmus Ristolainen type D man.
He's Jake McCabe Jr.
Yeah. So the jury's out. We'll see how he works out, but obviously you might as well sign him.
Well, yeah,
And
I mean the signing is one thing, but like I think this just sheds light on the fact that like if this is who your organization is going after on the blue line, like you have a fundamental problem with what they think about what players they should be bringing in. If it was 1993, Matthias Samuelsson would be like a top prospect because
yeah,
he's
he probably went like
big.
top 5.
Yeah, he's big and physical. The dude can't skate. The guy can't make a fucking breakout pass. He can't play in his own zone with his head. It's physicality or nothing. Like the players that you should be bringing in, even if they're small, you need them to be good skaters. You need them to be heady in their own zone and know where to be, and you need them to be able to pass the puck. Matthias Samuelsson is, like you said, Rasmus Ristolainen or Jake McCabe. He's a big physical guy with nothing else, and like that's not who I want in the NHL anymore. And I really hope that they have plans of like moving him for someone more useful. I don't ever want to see him on this. And
Yeah.
I think this is the only time I'm ever going to take this stance on a prospect, but like I'm ruling him out already as being an impactful, positive impact NHL player. He could come up and play 10 years, but if he's Rasmus Ristolainen part 2, I don't want him on the ice.
And there is a it's nice to have him signed, I guess, because he's a college player. So I guess that makes it easier to trade him. So you don't have to worry about him weaseling out of an entry level.
Well, he had another year, right, of control, and he had another year of college. So what we're basically saying is like, yeah, we think Matthias Samuelsson can make the jump to the AHL next year. Like
Yeah,
it
and I'm sure
seems
he
like,
will.
yeah, I agree, but like it. I mean, it doesn't really matter one way or another, but ideally, I think you'd want him to stay another year in school and then sign him like, you know, next year when you're basically giving up a year of rights to him, which take for that what you will, but like, I don't know.
Well, couldn't have
Nothing
done it
seems
worse
like
than
it's going right.
Middlestat.
That's
Couldn't have been
true.
worse. That was the worst
Straight out of
handled.
high school.
Yeah. Dude is playing like at parks and all of a sudden strap on
he's
the
playing
skate.
he's playing Dippin' Dots House League and then they throw him in the Chell.
He was playing like broom ball at his fucking local YMCA.
Do you think he showed up to camp with a broom ball stick and everyone's like, "What is this?" He's like, "Wait, this is on ice."
He had like
Like,
a
"Wait, you wear
coho.
skates?"
He had a coho wooden stick. And he got
Like,
it.
wow, these are so light. Like, wait, why do I have to do why do I have to do pull-ups now? I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
even need to.
understand.
Yeah, the stick is so light. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm just reading into it to have a negative opinion, probably. But there was an extra year that you could have waited on Samuelson, and you pulled the trigger now. I don't think it'll make a difference because I think he's a pretty useless player. Ideally, I'd want to flip him for someone that's useful to a team that still values size and grit over skill.
It's not
Maybe
too
we
late.
can find, maybe we can find a nice old school hockey mind to finagle a trade with, and see if we can get someone more useful than who I think he'll be anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's been going on. It's been a pretty slow go since the season has been paused. I haven't missed it really. I miss baseball more than anything. Tis the season to be outside and throwing a ball around. So hopefully that gets. Well, yeah, you don't operate unless it's like 75 degrees. So
yeah, I think I'm upping my limit of outdoor temperatures a bit to 70.
My minimum 70.
I'm just kidding.
You live in the Northeast.
Yeah, that's why. I just bundle up inside. 60,
Bundle up.
63.
My heat's on. It's 67 degrees out. He has a Snuggie on. I think my minimum comfort temperature outdoors is 50. That seems like a good.
I like 60.
It was 45 this morning, and I was like, it's a little chilly. And then it got to 53. I was like, it's beautiful out. I'm ready to go tan.
Yeah, well, I didn't leave my house today, so I can't really give you an opinion on that.
That's true. As you shouldn't. If
True.
if anyone's still going out and doing things like nothing's happening, please stay inside.
I don't even know what you could do other than shop for groceries.
Well, stay out of Walmart. Do me a favor. Stop coughing on things. Stop breathing on me. You fucking vultures. Just order online and then have them walk out,
Yeah, true. So let's talk about what the NHL is kind of proposing here. Or, I mean, I guess they're not proposing it, but, people are kind of coming up with ideas on how the NHL season could just somehow carry on. I mean, we obviously do not know how long this is going to keep us in our homes and not doing things. I know Donald Trump was saying that he thinks things will be normal in 2 weeks. I don't.
Okay.
Well, let's not get into that.
We haven't even started yet. They're hasn't even been the beginning of a peak yet. Cases are still doubling in all states per day. It's that's nonsense.
So yeah, with that in mind, people have kind of suggested 24-team playoffs because it's not fair to just kind of take whoever's in it right now because who knows what would have happened in the last however many games was left. Right. Which is really funny because we're the 25th team, so we would miss the playoffs still.
The meaningful games in March thing would have, and the 4 or 5 game losing streak, whatever it was. It feels like a decade ago that it happened, but that would have been so amazing if we made trades and we're meaningful games in March, and then we lose all of them, and then we miss the 24 team playoff cutoff by one team. That would be peak Buffalo Sabres hockey. And yep. I'm low key hoping that is actually what happens if that's the case, because that would just be so wonderful.
Oh yeah. And it would be really interesting because it would only be a 7-team draft lottery. So
I didn't even think of that. That's weird.
Yeah,
man, that's really odd.
But other people are suggesting, I know Chris from Two in the Box, he did an article saying that there could be a little tournament of all the teams that are out of the playoffs and that would be doing the draft lottery, and they could do a tournament to get the best pick, I guess.
Okay.
A little mini. So they would still be playing games during the playoffs, I guess.
Okay.
And
So it'd be like a mini tournament while the other tournament's going on to
yeah,
determine the
some people were
draft
saying,
lottery.
yeah, but some people were like, oh, so yeah, people are gonna be playing to get a guy that probably could take their job. So that'd be kind of interesting. Um, Obviously that
I
would be
mean,
kind of good
you'd
for us because
still that doesn't make any sense because you'd still have to play the rest of the games if the season was going on. I mean,
no,
sorry.
this is if the 24 team thing happens. So then,
Well, no, I'm saying like if you went into this year if you're on the Detroit Red Wings and you're fucking 20 points out of a playoff spot 10 games into the season, like you're still playing and like that
oh
doesn't make
yeah,
any sense that people would say like, "Oh, you're just playing to get replaced." Like I'm pretty sure if the Red Wings won the tournament and their fourth line left winger put up 30 points in 10 games, he would probably stay on the roster. Like he wouldn't be the one to be replaced. At that point, it would probably be a better thing to have that and then kind of have it be like, okay, if you want to keep your spot on this team, like you need to outperform the rest of your teammates if you want to stay. Like, if the Red Wings were trying to get Lafreniere, then like, you'd look at your forwards and be like, well, which one of you is gonna be the odd man out because you didn't perform? I think if anything, they would be trying harder at that point.
that's a good point. But I mean, if you look at it in the Sabres perspective, you would really actually hope that that is the case because we would have the worst odds. And it kind of, but it works like the opposite way of you that you would really think, you
Uh,
know, because obviously the way it really should work is the worst team should get the best pick, so they can get the help. But in this case, it would be the best team ends up getting the best pick, and it's only out of 7 teams, and all the other teams would still be picking top 7. So you're kind of happy about that. But
so the
that's it.
Sabres would be the last team out of the playoffs and the worst draft
Odds.
lottery odds.
Yes.
But we'd probably get that first round bye in the 7 team shit team playoff. So we'd only have to play 6 other because there'd be an odd number. Like the Sabres get a bye. Woo!
Yeah. That's a good point. But yeah,
Realistically, what do you think would happen? Like I don't know if there would ever be a tournament. I think
no,
if
I don't think
anything
that's
they would
gonna
have
happen. No.
I think if anything, they would take like a few teams that are on the outside looking in and have like sudden death just to determine like if they're within a few points of each other, like kind of have maybe sudden death games that like lead to a playoff berth. Obviously, like the division leaders would get a free pass in, but like if there's two guys or if there's two teams fighting for a wild card, have them do like a sudden death game. I haven't heard anything like that, but I think it would be smart to do so just
Yeah.
because it would take the shortest amount of time because a 24 team playoff round just seems outrageous like that
Yeah,
it
I
would be
don't think
so
they would
time
be.
consuming.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't be full rounds. I'm not sure. But another suggestion that seems more realistic would be trying to start up, and obviously this is hoping that most of this is washed over around July, but they would start training camp in July and then conclude the regular season, and then so I guess as soon as they can. I don't know how they would split the games up, like how many would be 2 in a row or 3 and 4. Then they would do a Stanley Cup playoffs that would begin in August, and then the
No, that's
Stanley Cup.
outrageous.
Yeah, and then the cup would be awarded late September. So it would be
Well,
like a 2-month
I,
playoff basically.
I've heard that Bill Daly, whoever he was talking to, it was one of the hockey insider guys. They had a discussion and he said regardless of what happens, they don't want this season to affect next season. So if it comes
Yeah.
down to playing the rest of this year and delaying the playoffs and then like having it roll into affecting next season, that's not going to happen. I
Okay,
think it
well
would be much
that's what this
I think it would be
suggestion
much more
does.
likely I think it would be much more likely that the first thing happens because I think they're just going to do whatever is the shortest and easiest route to a normal playoff round.
Yeah, because then this would have the draft and free agency in October, and then the 2021 season would start in November.
Yeah, I can't see them doing that.
Yeah, so
But who
it would
knows? It's
delay
the
it a month.
NHL. They make poor decisions all the time. So
I mean, it does suck. Like for me, I mean, it just would bother me that not, all 82 games weren't played for some reason. Obviously, this is a special situation, so you can't really.
well, I mean, if you look at the last time they didn't play all 82 games, like it was a lockout shortened season, and I mean, there was still a cup winner, and no one really puts an asterisk next to their name. So
That's true. Yeah, I'm just saying, kind of for me personally.
yeah,
It sucks.
ideally,
That's less games for
ideally,
Ovi
what
to
I would
get the
want.
most goals. So
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, that would hurt. But like ideally for me, at the end of the day, if it comes down to, well, we have to finish the regular season because that's what we have to do, and then have a full playoff round and delay everything, then, I would rather just have play a couple games if you need it and just start the playoffs. Like just get it over with. Stop delaying this shit.
well, can they even like they can't cancel the season? They have to find a way to award a team, right? The cup.
I I don't know. This is the situation that we're in where like this has never happened before. Like a season has never had to be cut short and just like killed before the end. I actually think it happened once in like the 20s or the 40s or something during like a mumps outbreak or something.
But
Whatever happened there, I'd have to look to see like what they did about that. But like I know this has happened one time before. I don't know the extent of like the cancellation, but like I don't know. We're in uncharted territory right now.
yeah, and I mean, you're basically, yeah, like, it's gonna change the outcome regardless. Like if the season just kept going normally and teams could, there's because certain streaks happen, right? Like after, teams are on cold streaks, teams are on hot streaks. It can change. It's gonna change the whole outcome there regardless. But then these players are, they have this long break right now that they're not doing anything. So, would we really just like come back and just start playoffs just like that? Like I feel like they would need a few games to at least get into the swing of things.
Well, I think what I've heard a couple people talk about it, and they're like, "Well, there has to be a mini camp to get these guys back in shape." It's like, so you're
Mhm.
gonna have a mini camp of like a couple weeks, and then 15 more games or whatever was left in the season, and then an entire playoff round without affecting next season. Like it's impossible.
Yeah.
Especially because I don't expect this to resume until at least like at the very earliest like June, because this isn't, with the whole coronavirus thing, like I don't even think this has really even started yet. And like if you look at the timelines of countries before us, like we're barely getting into the woods of this. Like we're not peaking, we're not on top of it, we're not ahead of the curve in any way. Like this is going to be like months of no sports, and like this isn't going to get rolling again anytime soon. So like you have to find a way to condense whatever's left, because you can't possibly keep it the same length and not affect next year.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know because and you look at the MLB too. Like they play 162 games, so like they've been saying they don't want to cancel any games. They still want to play 162. I don't know how. It's just gonna be crazy how all this is decided. It was crazy
Well, I
enough
think,
when things were suspended.
yeah, I think at the end of the day, like everything that's being said right now about the country resuming and like sports having any idea of when they're going to play again, like it's all just a pipe dream. Like if we're in June and things still haven't resumed, especially with like the baseball thing, they're not going to get 162 games in. What are you going to play the World Series on Christmas? Like you're going to have games rolling into January while they'll be playing in like high school gymnasiums because it's snowing out in half of the contenders' ballparks. Like there's no way they're going to be able to get 162 games in. You could play double headers for the rest of the year; it still wouldn't matter.
Well, they could play in Florida and Arizona maybe. Like in their spring training ballparks. That's one thing I
I don't
thought of
know.
at least. I don't know if that's realistic or not, but
I think the best thing that can happen in my mind is that they shorten every season that happened this year and just start fresh next year. There's no reason to push off this year and try to get all the games in and make a mess of everything, like going into next off season and going into, the 2021 seasons. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Just you do what you can with this season and just admit that, like, it's out of your control. It's a lost season and just move on. Have playoffs if you're the NHL, shorten your season if you're the MLB. Same thing with the NBA, just like, decide who goes into the playoffs based on however you want it to. Have a shortened season and start fresh next year.
mhm. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. The 24 playoff. I mean, I don't know if they actually need to have 24. I guess it works out like bracket wise, I'm sure. But that seems like, even though it does sound crazy, it seems like one of the easiest solutions. But I do think they would need to have some type of warm up, like, because it'd be probably pretty ugly playoff hockey, and maybe it'd be exciting if it was kind of ugly hockey.
Well, yeah, ugly
To
hockey
start.
is the best hockey to watch because they actually score goals.
Yeah, I'm sure there would be, a lot of, you know, easy goals here and there. Goalies aren't like 100%, and I'm sure
Well,
defensive breakdowns would happen.
at least with that, everyone would be on the same playing field.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
there wouldn't be any advantages or disadvantages. It would just look different.
Hmm. It'd be cool to see, like Montreal. I think they're right ahead of us. So, like, well, see what they can do. Who knows? Could be. I mean, it'd probably be unfair to teams that, especially if it's like super short, like 3-game series or something. It'd be kind of shitty for like teams that are like in first or second that could get eliminated just because they had a couple bad games after a long break. But it's that's what we're gonna have to do. There's not
Well,
really too many other options.
I'm saying fuck it then. Do a 31 team playoff. Give the President's Trophy team a first round bye, have 3-game series up until like the final 4, then go to 7, and then just, Detroit and fucking Tampa Bay. Let's see who wins it.
That'd be fun, but yeah, it's already logging up with 24. I don't even know how they do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it would take any more time. You could just schedule more games for the same day.
Yeah, I guess the playoffs are kind of spaced out unintentionally, so
Right.
they could figure out something. I'm sure,
I want to
sadly.
see the true physical nature of these guys and how much they have left in the tank. I want to see no training camp, come back without working out or any like training, and just play every day until the season ends, like nonstop.
Like, these dudes have been cramped up in their house, like hacky sacking toilet paper and golfing fucking ping pong balls into cups for the past 2 months. They don't know what to do with themselves, so they'd probably be a little like psycho too. So who knows what'll happen?
It would be fun stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, hopefully they don't mess up next year. Obviously, it's a situation that no one can control, and I just hope that they do it smart and they don't try to mess with anything next
And that's
year. And I really hope that they don't put anyone in at risk trying to force in whatever they're doing this year by returning early or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, that we're already getting scared about going back in 2 weeks and people dying just to make sure the economy is okay. So, hopefully sports especially, doesn't follow that, and we just make sure we completely try to get rid of this as best we can. I mean, I don't even know if we'll ever like fully get rid of it. Who knows? Like, and I was gonna say at least, we don't even know if next season this disease will be gone. So it's all just nuts right now. We just got to make our best guesses on what's gonna happen and hope for the best.
Yeah, and just kind of echoing what you just said, like, no one knows what's going to happen. Whatever does happen, I just hope they make the right decisions and roll with the punches correctly and try not to force anything. And I think that should be kind of everyone's mentality going forward, is just like, you can't control what happens around you. So just try to control your actions. Try not to make things worse for yourself or for others, and just like, take your time with it. Do all that you can to, stay safe, and just, roll with the punches, and whatever happens, just keep doing what you got to do to keep you and the people around you from making it worse.
That's beautiful advice for anything in life,
Yeah, that's right. Thanks.
Yeah, no
I think
problem.
it's a good way to wrap up.
Yeah.
My phone's on 10%. Craig, the recording bear, is probably getting sick of recording us.
He'll go up. He'll go 6 hours if we want, but I don't think we. Sadly, we don't know what
I
to
can
talk
take
about.
that or my phone. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing. It's been a struggle to, do one podcast in 2 weeks. We didn't have. This isn't a lifestyle podcast. We got to talk about hockey.
Yeah, and I don't think you guys want to hear of our lifestyles of hardcore drugs and blacking out every night.
I don't know what you've been doing for your quarantine, but that's not.
Well, like I said, it's same thing as normal. I've been preparing my whole life for this, so nothing's changed.
With heavy drug use and blackouts.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that's a good way to wrap up. At least Steve can't black out, drive home drunk from bars anymore. Anyone who's listening, if you want us to do a lifestyle podcast, feel free to let us know. I'm sure that would go over well, and I'm sure we'll have lots of love and comments on this. I was going to say video, but we're not doing a video.
Yeah, no video.
We have to social distance ourselves from one another. Yeah, like I said, everyone needs to stay safe and do what you got to do just to keep everyone around you safe, and hopefully everyone's doing okay. Stock up on that toilet paper before all the lunatics buy 100 more rolls for themselves. And I miss my buddy. I'm trying to get through my life with no sports, and I hope everyone's doing the same.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Okay. Thanks for listening. If you like it, I don't know. Who cares? No one cares. No one's gonna listen to this. If you made it to the end, you're a saint. I hope you all have a blessed night and a wonderful day tomorrow. After that, you're on your own.
All right, later, guys.
That's all you have to contribute to the end of this?
Yeah, you already, you hit all the bases.
All right, well, special thanks to Craig the Recording Bear. Thanks for doing this podcast from home, Steve. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Stay safe out there.
Bye.
Bye.